Hi, everybody. This is Charles Harper, and I am here with my friend Amy Harrop, and she's going to be talking to us about, some ways that we can both make our content more unique, whether you're using video or whether you're using other forms of PLR, or ways that you can create new things altogether. And, I know that that is something that people want to be able to do, is to create products that people haven't seen before. Amy, hello.
Hi, Charles.
Amy, so why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about, what you're doing right now? I mean, this whole idea of, finding other unique content that we can go to the market and monetize.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I'm really excited. I am actually I put together a new training called PD Goldmine, and it's all about taking content and creating unique content you can monetize, like you said. And what I really love about whether you're using private label rights content or public domain content is that there's so many different unique formats that you can use it in. For example, we know now that doing video and short videos and doing image-based types of content, like for example for social media, those are so popular and they drive tons of traffic. And repurposing your content and setting it up to you in those formats is fantastic. Another thing that's very popular is doing what I like to call companion or user directed content, where you can take a piece of content and you can turn it into something that's a little bit more interactive, like a worksheet or a workbook or a checklist or a journal. So there's lots of ways where you can take this, whatever type of content you're using, and make it something completely new.
Yes. Okay. So I know that you talk in the guide about some areas where you can go and sort of monetize it. Is this primarily, is it a content strategy, or is a an info product strategy, or is it both? What would you say is the way that people can kind of think about this?
Well, there's lots of different ways. And what I talk about are basically ways you can sell this content directly and ways that you can use it for content marketing as well. So you can create books, you can create tutorials, you can create educational content, you can create presentations, you can create visual content, you can create videos, you can create social media content. So it's really half and half. If you want to take something and actually sell it directly, you could certainly do that. For example, if it's a video course, or perhaps a workbook or something like that. If you want to use it to create free content to drive traffic, like Pinterest pins or short videos or cheat sheets, something like that you might be giving away, you can do that as well.
So now, if somebody were to say, like public domain content is typically going to be older content, how would how would you kind of help people to kind of understand how they're going to be able to use it, in today's world, right? So, if the copyright is expired, is there content that I can find then that I'm going to be able to make relevant for now?
Definitely. And this is a very exciting time for public domain content. And that's part of the reason I wanted to bring people's attention to this, because right now, massive amounts of content have now newly been released into the public domain because there hasn't been any new content that's copyright expired that's been released in 20 years. So this is really exciting because we now have a bunch of public domain content available. In addition to that, there's actually also a ton of newly written public domain content that comes from a variety of different places, such as government agencies. So that content is often more, newly written and so forth. So there's a lot of different types of things that are currently out there. And what's really exciting about this is it's not necessarily the same old stuff, because we have this new content that's been released that we haven't seen for 20 years. And then also we have a lot of content that's being put out regularly by government and government agencies that's also free to use as well.
Mm-hmm. So now let's say that I know that when this was big a while back, I picked up just a couple of things on copywriting that were in the public domain, but I never really did anything with it. I guess my first question is, with some of the new content that's been added, is it possible that I can go and find other stuff, let's say on copywriting, to be able to add to what I have, and then I got a follow-up question once you kind of talk about that.
Certainly, you could take what you have right now, and then you could find some private label right content or other content that you already have, and then add it to that and create something that's completely new. Create a new course, break it down into sections, and create lessons. Break it down into some type of checklist format. So there's definitely a lot you could do with that.
Now, would you think that there is newer content in the public domain on that subject? You know, with the additional content that's been added, let's say from the last, you said 20 years or so.
Yeah, I definitely think there is. There's a huge amount of content that's currently in the public domain now, and there's going to be new content added each and every year. And what I've done as well with putting this together is I've actually created a dashboard software where it's categorized, where you can go through and easily find this type of content. You can just go to the written content category, and then you'll see the different types of written content that are available. And you can also make notes on any of these sites as well if there's ones that you want to go back to too. So there's a lot of content that even after a copyright restriction just wasn't renewed. And so there's a lot of content that does actually fall into the public domain. And in my PD Goldmine, I'm going to show you exactly where you can find that in the dashboard software that's included.
Yeah, you know, because I remember when I was doing this years ago, and that was kind of a complicated process of trying to figure out, what was renewed and what wasn't there. And I think that's kind of what held me up and kind of kept me from moving forward. So now what you're doing with the software is you're making that whole process easy to navigate.
Yes, there's four main categories: images and artwork, written, multimedia, and then I also have a separate category for Creative Commons, which we haven't really talked about, but that's also very newly created content that's available for people to use as well, and it's similar to public domain. So once you go to any of these categories, you'll then also find in many cases subcategories, and then you can find what you want. If you're looking for educational content, or if you're looking for, historical content, or if you're looking for something that's maybe video based specifically, I have specific video content as well.
So if I'm a blogger, and let's say that like my primary concern is being able to go find unique images, because I know, if you have to use, one of these services, you got to pay for all the images, then you've got to check to see, which ones are going to be, which ones are copyrighted, but could I use this if I'm a blogger, let's say, and I wanted to go and find some unique but timeless images for some of the posts that I was creating?
Oh, definitely. There is so many images and artwork out there that are available. Excuse me, you just have to know where to find them. And what's great too with a lot of those image sites and places that I share is they also have the ability where you can do specific searches too. So if you're looking for something more specific, you can type that into the search, so you don't have to spend hours looking for it.
Okay, no, that's good. Now, is there also, now I'm video primarily, right? Is there, is there video? Because I know one way of creating video, right? If you've got good audio, you can put in what they call B-roll on top of it. You can kind of display something. Is there video? Are there video clips? Is there video content that you can use, that you can get from the public domain? I guess that's my question.
Yes, there is a lot of different video content, and I have a whole section here of video content that is available for you to take a look at. For example, there is a whole site called Public Domain Footage where you go to that and it's all public domain. And then, there's some of them as well that offer content, and then you can filter out to public domain or free to use content as well. So there are lots of options there for finding public domain content.
Okay, so now I've got this old guide that's a youth guide on business, and I know you talk about a couple of different ways that people could take something from a book, but what would you say, just kind of based on what you're teaching in the guide, what section would I go to kind of look at what I could do with this book that I have in public domain to kind of take that educational content to turn it into something that I can either use or sell?
Well, one of the things I think with something like that, by simply reformatting it and adding some more up-to-date images that you can find, you're going to be modernizing it as well. So that's something you could certainly do. You could also take it and break it into sections. And then after each section, you could even have some response questions. You could also have some checklists and or an action plan as well. So there's a lot of different ways you could take that and make it more modern for people to easily digest. I mean, for example, now we have, people have shorter attention spans.
Yep.
So simply by breaking it up into smaller sections and adding bullet points and adding things like maybe a summary, you could completely transform it and make it more usable for today's audience.
So you've got a section in here about creating social media content. Now, I didn't really have a chance to read all of that section. What primarily are you helping people to do in that section? Because I know that's something that people want, right? People want to be able to have. I mean, everybody's on social media, right? But not everybody's really sharing anything of any value, and trying to find something to say, is kind of the dilemma. So what are you helping people there in that section, creating social media content with public domain content?
Well, one of the great things what you can do with that is you can actually share statistics and data, and a lot of that is free public domain content from the government. And then you can put it in a visual format. One of the things I talk about in terms of putting that together is creating visual types of content, visual tutorials where you may be sharing different types of data in your niche or your industry, and you're putting it in a nice visual format. And that's very easy to do with public domain content.
Right. So, so in other words, this is kind of, I mean, I can do this if it's informational, right? So I can go and I can find, you said statistical information, but I can also find, information that's going to be, I guess, particularly to my niche, and I can then distribute that, on whatever platform I'm on, Twitter or Facebook, whatever the case is.
Right, right. And, you could even do a lot more with that, a lot of fun. If you have a specific niche, you can also talk about the way people used to maybe do things in that niche and before in the past, and you can bring it into the present. You can also just make it more fun and have memes and humor. One of the fun ones I've seen are, like some people have different Twitter accounts where they'll maybe be pretending to be a historical figure, and that can be fun. So there's depending on the niche, there's lots of different ways that you can take this content and put it out there in a fun, engaging way in social media.
Now, I tend to like to teach. I mean, sometimes I like to do it with PowerPoint. Sometimes even live and in person. Now, you have broken out within the guide. You have broken out presentations from educational materials. So in the section on presentations, with public domain content, what are you talking about in there?
Well, presentations are a great way to do traffic, to drive traffic and to do content marketing. And you can do a lot of really engaging presentations with different types of public domain content. And then what you can do is you can take those and put them on like something like SlideShare, and have links to your whatever you want to your blog or to your paid products in that slideshow, and you can actually then drive a lot of traffic. So that's a fun way to put that together. And then of course what you can do once you have your presentation done is you can take that and make a video out of it as well. So it's with presentations, you're putting a little more effort into, I suppose, putting a little more visuals into that. So you might have more of a visual component along with the text component. But there's so much content available out there that you can easily grab that and put that together in a great presentation.
Yeah, what I like about what you did with this is that in every section that I read, you've got a section at the end that says, how to monetize each piece. I know probably the people that are listening to this, they're probably sort of already into their niche, but for somebody who's kind of looking for their thing, or they're looking for something to do, or looking for some projects, they could take any one of these sections, kind of dive into it and monetize it all by itself. Like, for example, you've got publishing books here with public domain content. So somebody who's maybe into Kindle, or somebody who's deciding they want to go into Kindle or publishing, could they take that section and then just really kind of focus in and then monetize that all by itself.
Definitely. And I don't, basically in this training, I'm not going to leave anyone hanging. I'm going to talk about how you can use public domain to create this different type of content, these different types of content. And then as you said, at the end of each section, I'm going to share some ways you can make money from it and monetize it. And publishing on Amazon and also other book publishing platforms is one of my favorite ways to make money with public domain. In fact, I do share a case study where somebody actually went ahead and made 6 figures publishing public domain books on Amazon. And these aren't actually even books that he rewrote. He just repackaged and changed up some stuff. So there's a case study that I include in here as well to show you that, plus some other examples too.
Yeah. Now, probably when people are hearing this, there's typically not going to, they're going to have to go ahead and kind of look at, doing this soon. So let's say that people see this round about, I don't know, the 11th. How long are they going to have, Amy, before they can kind of get the best pricing on this?
Well, the introductory price is going to last for a week, so it'll be available from the 11th through the 17th. So that's the time you're going to get the best pricing. This product will be available after that, but it will end up being at its regular pricing. So you will save substantially if you'll get it during that first week at the introductory price.
Yep. No, that's great. So this is one of those things that I actually like this along with, your other product. I think it's Instructo. It's almost like I think these two go together, right? Because that was really all about taking some stuff and really turning it into, tutorials for you to sell. And I think you cover that too in this guide, right? Turning stuff into tutorials where people can go and sell them.
Yes, I love that method. And you're right. That is what I go into in depth with Instructo. And I think public domain is perfect for that, especially because there's a lot of interest now in doing different types of things that maybe people don't do regularly anymore. Like, maybe you, instead of getting stains out manually out of a shirt, you actually just send it to the dry cleaners. And now people are wanting to know how to do it themselves without actually having to do that. So putting together a tutorial about, different ways of stain removal, that's just an example, is a great way you can take that type of content and put it together into a new product. And those are great both for selling directly and also if you want to use them to put on a blog or something like that as well.
Yeah, I think also what I like about this before we close out is there's a guy, Ryan Holiday. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's an author, and he's been talking about something he calls perennial sellers, or making sure that, when you take the time to create something these days, you sort of take the time to make sure it's timeless so that in, 5 years, it'll still be valuable to people. And with this content, the feel of this is that it's not like, things you might do on, let's say, Facebook or Twitter. Like you can create something and it'll still be relevant to people in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Is that accurate, Amy?
I definitely think that's accurate, especially when you are looking at evergreen types of content. You can take that and people, were responding to it and it was popular in the past and they're going to be responding to it and it's going to be popular now. And it's not based so much, like you said, on specific things that are, that say 2020. It's going to be something that's more timeless that people are going to be interested in long term. And I definitely think that's the case. And there's a lot of niches like that. I think, we always remember looking at the health, wealth, and relationships. Those are the 3 ones, and then everything you can kind of put underneath those niches to an extent. And you'll be able to find lots of great niches and then content to go with them that people respond to.
That's great. Okay, everybody, I'm going to send you to a URL, and it's theplrshow.com/PDAmy, right? PDAMY. And I'm going to put some things together for you. I think that'll help you to leverage this. And I'm going to do a little short kind of tutorial as to how you can bridge the gap between some of the content you already have from us, as well as how you can get into this. And then there's some other stuff that you can sell. But so Amy, again, I always ask you this: what's the fastest way to kind of get started quickly? I know you've got the guide; it's really well laid out. It's really broken down well. How do people, let's say, get started fast if they can get something like a project done fast by getting into this?
Well, I would recommend reading through the guide quickly and then picking one of the formats you want to use, and then you can go to the corresponding checklist because they're separate checklists, and then just go through the checklist and put your content together, and then to actually pull your content, you can use the software.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, once again, the URL where you can get my additional resources is the plrshow.com/PD Amy. This is only going to be available for a limited time. And even if you're listening to this and it's later, as you've probably heard, you're going to be getting something where you're going to be creating timeless resources and things that are going to be lasting. And so this is something that, everybody can really benefit from learning how to do, on the internet, creating things that people are going to be looking for, not just this year, but, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line. So everybody, thank you for, kind of listening in. Amy, thank you as always for spending this time with us.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it, and it was a lot of fun.
All right, everybody, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.